Everyone, welcome to the episode of the podcast Koon Rijjeil. A lot of people will know him for his performances in High Rocks and a lot of crazy fitness events in the UAE and the region. Michael Logue, welcome to Koon Rijjeil.
Thank you for having me.
Man, my pleasure. I mean, look, I know you briefly, you can say, but I think today's a chance to really dig deep into, who Michael actually is.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, we all know you as an athlete, but not so much, for me at least, not so much the person. So the first thing for me is, again, away from the fitness, what's one thing that everyone should know about you before listening to this podcast?
Oh, one thing they should know about me. I'm extremely determined in terms of like if I, say I'm going to do something, I think I usually do that thing. So I think I'm extremely determined in terms of ambitions, in terms of what I want to achieve, and all that sort of stuff. And whatever I set out to do, I usually, hopefully do.
We're going to push this question a little bit further.
Yeah,
what's one thing about your mental health journey that we should know about?
So we'll go straight in. I don't want to leave anything. Leave anything untouched. So yeah, mental health, it's a massive thing for me. I struggled with it when I was younger. When I was 19, I almost did kill myself. And so for me, it's always been a big part of my life. It's big part of friends that I've I've had school friends that have killed themselves. I've had friends from the military and all that sort of stuff. So it's a big thing for me. I think in terms of we speak about it a lot more now, but still even now when I feel sad or whatever and someone asks me if I'm all right, I still probably would still just answer, yeah, I'm good. But it's something that I'm trying to be better at, and I think the more we talk about it, the better it is. But yeah, it's massive for me. It's the biggest killer under the age of 45. So the more we can speak about it, the better.
Yeah, I think it's so important what you just said. I think it's the biggest killer, and we need to talk about it more. And I think that it's in my opinion, perfect segue to my next question is keeping all these things in mind. What does it mean for you to be a man? So when you talk about mental health, speaking up, suicide as well is a very big thing.
I think my background in terms of everything that I've been in terms of the military, fitness, competitions, it's all about showing no form of weakness. Even when you're in the deepest, darkest cave, showing no weakness, showing no emotion, getting on with it. Especially like my friend is out here with me now, who's just in the back now, Mitch, and he was in the Marines with me, went through training together. And you never ever would show any kind of form of weakness to each other. You'd get through stuff, push each other and all that sort of stuff. But to ever say you were scared or anything like that wouldn't really be a thing. I think as I've grown older, I think I've realised that actually to be a man, you can show emotion, you can be weak, you can in certain times show that weakness, and I think that makes you more of a man if you can actually hold your hand up and say, actually I'm not okay, I'm struggling, there's this going on, etc. I think that makes you more of a man than it does to be this alpha male that shows no weakness. And don't get me wrong, there's still parts of me that I don't want to show weakness in what I do and in where I'm at. But I think if you can tap into and show a little bit of emotion, I think it makes you more of a man if you're able to show that weak side of yourself.
And I think this is again the main thing that this whole podcast is trying to achieve, right? Is to show that showing emotion is never wrong. It's just different. I think a lot of people will tell you, yeah, you're not masculine because you're being more emotional, you're showing these things. And I'm curious to know when you were in the like in the military years ago. Why was it a thing where showing emotion wasn't something that you would do? You and people around you. Was it just because of the idea of being a man and showing toughness, and because of the situation you're in, or was it?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the culture that you're in and what's created, and the fact that showing any form of weakness, like physical or mental, would maybe not be looked well upon. But I think that's also, again, I think that's kind of something that is maybe that's just what you think it should be. So I think from that, I think I'd kind of just I've always kind of just thought that you shouldn't really show any fear or anything like that. Like I've done loads of stuff, like even like I've got my skydiving license and stuff like that, and still to this day, every time I jump out, I'm still absolutely petrified. I still don't really get over it, but like I still, when I jump out, there's like nobody would probably know that I'm absolutely broken it every
no one knows
time.
No.
So I think that's it.
So I want to go back to a certain point in your life. So you said that you were suicidal at 19. And a lot of other people who have done it. So I want you to take me back to that moment. What did it look like for you? What happened?
Yeah, so I think I was just going through a bit of a difficult time in terms of I didn't really know what I wanted from life, didn't know where I was going. I was a bit at crossroads at that age. Knew I wanted to go into the military. A lot of my friends were going to university, and that was kind of the path that you were, told to kind of go down. And I ended up going to university. I had a close family friend that passed away, and I think it was just it all kind of happened at a certain point. And to be fair, I don't think it was one thing. I think, I still to this day don't really understand why I was in such a dark place. And I think sometimes you don't necessarily need to understand why you are in a dark place. I think that's the thing that people think. People think that for your mental health to be bad, there needs to be a catalyst. There needs to be something that is just really going wrong, when actually there doesn't necessarily need to be. That it can be a number of factors that come into play. And I think I think I was young. I didn't really know. I was drinking a lot, that fuels, just negative stuff overall. And I was just in a pretty dark place, to be honest. But luckily, to be fair, there was lots of things that kind of happened and came out the other side of it, which was obviously good. Great, because I'm here now. So.
Which is really great stuff. And again, I think, as you say, I think a lot of times people think that for you to be in a negative mental health space, something needs to happen. But sometimes, as you say, it's a lot of different things that happen in life that just pile up, and there might be very minor things. Yeah. For example, like, I don't know what I want to do, or this is not working out, and all these things, and you're like, okay, maybe this is my path.
Yeah.
But obviously, luckily, you didn't.
Yeah. No, definitely.
You didn't go through that. So I wanna, was it something you ever talked about with friends, family, or was it something you just kept to yourself?
So it wasn't anything I spoke about at all. Like, I never delved into it, really. I think I eventually spoke about it maybe a year or so after, but even on the night in question when I did nearly, I still didn't speak about that. It was kind of just something that happened. I didn't go ahead and do it. So, but it wasn't something that I kind of spoke about. And then I think as I got a little bit older and then, a little bit more wiser, so to speak, I think it was something that I did end up speaking about. And it's something that I'm quite open about. Yeah. Again, even when I sit here today, it's still weird to talk and speak about it and show that kind of weakness, and for people to see that side of you, because at the end of the day, for most people don't see any kind of side of me in terms of that. They just think successful, doing well, all that sort of stuff, never really had any issues, life is good. But I think that's why it's also important to have these conversations and actually speak about it, because for the average person that maybe things aren't really going well, and it's nice to be able to look at someone and be like, well, they've been through a dark time, but they come out the other side of it, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
I love that. It's interesting to say that, because I remember I saw your mental health day post, and I was walking and I read it. I was like, oh, wow, I never would have thought. Yeah. Because again, fortunately and unfortunately for a lot of people, we just judge the book by its cover. So what you see is what you get. So I see Michael doing these races, doing super well, doing well in his business and all this, and you never see the story that made the person who they are today, which I think is incredibly eye-opening, just to make people feel human as well. Like, not everyone has a perfect life. Nothing is ever straight. It's always...
And that's the thing. And I think that's the problem with social media nowadays also, is that, you never see the lows. You always see the highs. We don't post about the losses and all that sort of stuff. We post about the wins, all that sort of stuff. And you don't get to see what actually is behind closed doors.
The human behind the human, if you want to say it like that.
Yeah.
So did you ever sort of show signs, maybe in hindsight, to people around you, or even to yourself, that you were thinking about committing suicide at some point in your life? Or was it just a thought that comes and goes, but then one day just all became a lot more loud in your mind?
I think when I was at that age, I was kind of getting into trouble a lot. If I'm totally honest, I was fighting a lot. I was just getting up to no good. And I think there was definitely signs of it, but I think also at that time, also the norm was to go out drinking, especially when you first go to university, especially in the UK culture. So it was kind of like nothing out of the ordinary, so to speak. And also as well, you're in a completely new environment. Nobody actually really knows you. It's the first time you're meeting people and getting to know people. So nobody knows no different to who you are as a person and what your norm is. So for them, my norm at that time was just me. That's who I was. So I don't think many people knew that I was struggling. But I think I have close friends now who probably would say, yeah, maybe they did know a little bit.
I wanna try to understand Michael as a kid.
Okay.
Michael as a kid and Michael's sort of upbringing, but as well, like how were things at home, like, and I don't like. And I mean, from a mental health perspective, like, was it a place where you could be open about? Because I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There's a big difference, I think, between the English American culture and the Arab culture, right? Yeah. So I think for us as Arabs, it's something that we don't do. We never really talk about these things until maybe recently. For example, my parents started to finally understand more a bit about. So I wonder about you, like, how was that like for you growing up, and even in that phase in your or that time in your life?
Yeah, no, I had a great childhood. So parents are together still. I've got 3 sisters, so 1 of 4. Nice. So never really got to speak too much when I was a kid. But I think from that side of things, in terms of what you're talking about there, I don't think we massively spoke about stuff. I think sometimes even now to this day, when we're speaking about something that's like a little bit of a difficult conversation, it gets shut down very quick. We don't really delve into it too much. And I don't really know why that is. I just think that's just kind of just how we are as a family. I think as soon as kind of there is a difficult conversation, it gets spoken about a little bit, but maybe not as much as it should. But I'm also of the understanding that, you know, sometimes there's no amount of words that can solve the issues that are maybe going on. And I think sometimes it's difficult, like even, you know, recently going through a bit of a tough spot. And I think my friends all reached out to me and were like, and I think at the end of the day, I think it's just knowing that you have friends there that you can call if you need to. But sometimes even Mitch was saying, we were speaking about on the way here, and speaking about each of his lives, because we've not seen each other in 7 years. And we were talking about how he's going through some stuff. I've been through some stuff recently, and how he reached out to me and he didn't want to pester me, but he just wanted me to know that he was there. And I think that's it. I think like, and I said to him, yeah, I totally got that. Like, I was super happy with that, because also I didn't need to be pestered. I knew that time was going to be a healer. I was going to get through stuff. But it's nice to have that knowledge that you've got those people that you can rely on. And I have that with my family. I have that with my friends. You know, if shit really hits the fan, excuse my language, you know, I can rely on them. I can call them. They are there to support, and that's important.
Look, and I think it's super important as well, especially if, I mean, in my opinion, family is always so important. Even if, because you were saying before, like there's never really a good amount of words, or sometimes words can't fix things. But I think just awareness. I think just somebody knowing that, you know, I'm going through something, makes things a little bit easier. Doesn't solve it 100%, but just knowing that somebody is aware, and I know in the back of my mind, because it's family, they will check in. They'll do the little 1% to help me get a little bit better, even if they might not know the full picture of what's going on.
Yeah, and it's just asking that little extra question, isn't it? Of actually, if you are aware, it's, you know, asking someone if they're okay, but then actually maybe going, no, but are you okay? Just having that second question of actually being like, and you know, if people don't open up and they don't want to at that point, then that's probably they just feel that's right for them at the time. But yeah, I think being aware of it is super important.
So is Michael okay? Has Michael healed?
Yeah, I'm in a very, very good place at the minute. Yeah, a very good place, to be honest. Like, life is good, business is good, training is good, fitness is good. Got lots of exciting things coming up, lots of challenges, lots of new things to do. But yeah, no, genuinely, I've probably never been happier, so I'm in a very good place. That's actually.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's super good to hear. I know that I think when you were 19, that was quite a while ago, but you know, I always think that for any sort of traumatic thought or experience, sometimes it could live on for a long time, and sometimes it just gets nipped in the bud, and then people move on from it. And I would like to think, or I would think that you've kind of moved past that. At the moment, 100%.
So
what stopped you in the moment?
In the exact moment,
Yeah.
it was the thought of my mum, to be honest.
Okay.
That was the main reason for stopping. I think, yeah, and to be fair, I think, yeah, in that moment, I was just like, how would she live on, etc., and all that sort of stuff from me doing something so silly in that moment. And I think, yeah, that was the only reason I stopped. So it was, yeah.
You know, it's interesting to say that, because I think a lot of times, whenever we think about doing something that's in our mind makes sense, but it actually really does not make sense.
Yeah.
We always think about the mom and the dad. What are they going to say? Because they probably did not know, so they'll have this life of, yeah, but there's nothing I could have done so much, but they never spoke. And I think that's the issue that we all face today. Of we don't do enough talking. We just keep it to ourselves, and then people find out after the fact.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing about mental health is that through going and making that decision, and people are obviously in the darkest places to then make that decision, but that mental health is then being passed on to somebody else, because at the end of the day you'll always be forever thinking, what if I did this, what if I did that, etc., and all that sort of stuff. So it's a continuation of that, basically, that so yeah.
So I mean, now it's been a few years now since you were 19. What's one thing that you wish you knew then that you know now?
That everything will work itself out. I think you think that you need to have life figured out, and I think you're at that age, when you're going through school, you need to pick back in the UK it's your GCSEs, you need to pick your A levels, you need to pick them because you need to decide if you want it to be a doctor, you need to do all three sciences, and then when you go to your A levels, you need to pick certain things, and I think you don't need to have everything figured out. I think life is about progressing. It's about living in the moment and enjoying the process and the process of becoming. Yeah. And I think that's my biggest lesson. Is like, even times where times are difficult now, or something's not going to plan, whether that be business, training, personal life, or anything like that, it's trusting in the process that things will work itself out and work itself out for you. And I think that's my biggest thing.
It's funny because I also did my GCSEs in AS, I think that's what they call them. I failed all of them. Yeah. But in the moment, I'm like, my life is gone, and how am I going to live? But then, and I always say this to my younger sister, who is a lot smarter than I am, but I always tell her, like, dude, just live your life. Like, things will work out. Even if you failed 10 exams, it doesn't matter. Like, just life, as you say, life will always work itself out. There's always a plan that's written for you. That's just, you need to, that's going to show up with time. Yeah, you need 100%. To go just explore that thing that you need to do. Yeah. So if we want to go back to that specific moment when you were about to commit suicide, what's one thing that you wouldn't tell yourself at that time?
Wouldn't tell myself
other than don't do it.
Wouldn't tell myself. I don't know, I don't actually know. Come back to that question. Okay. I'll have to think about that.
I'll rethink about it. So looking back, how did that shape you as the man you are today?
Yeah, massively shaped me. I think I say this in every podcast, but it's so true. The hardest thing you've been through is the hardest thing you've been through. And I think it shaped me in terms of like knowing that I can be in the depths, the darkest place, but knowing that you can come out the other side of it. And I take that into everything that I do now in terms of business, fitness. That's why I would say I'm a good athlete. It's not necessarily just because I'm fit. It's because I can go to a very dark place. I can push myself, and I know that at the end of it, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to finish some way or another. It's going to be over. Yeah. Whether it's an hour, whether it's 5 days, whatever it is. And I think that I take that massively and utilize that for everything that I kind of do now. Yeah. Knowing that, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. And that's just life. Life is literally like fitness. You're going to have really hard patches when take a high rocks, for example. You're going to have moments where it's ridiculously hard. You think you can't continue, you're struggling on. But putting one foot in front of the other, continuing on, and at the end of the day, you'll get to the finish and you'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, I think that's so important, because I think a lot of the times, Again, I think going back to the idea of being a man, all this, we often, a lot of times we often want to take the big leaps. You want to do the big grand things that look great, but sometimes we don't think about the little, I just say, the little steps, or the one step at a time. And I think as well, like looking back at your own journey, that must have helped you to say, okay, let's take things one step at a time. I'm in this place, cool, but how do I get out of it? And I'm also curious to know, how did you sort of recover from that time in your life? Like what was the next sort of thing the next immediate thing that you've done
after the incident?
Yeah.
So after that, to be fair, I ended up continuing on with uni, and then ended up going into the Marines, and then that was kind of my next challenge, sort of thing. Again, going into a culture that was basically just alpha male, like all men, super testosterone fueled. Probably not really the best place for it, but the one good thing I would say about that side of it is that so for example, Mitch has seen me in my weakest state and my strongest state, in terms of like physical, mental, everything, in terms of pushing the absolute limits. And you have an incredible bond through that, because you've pushed each other, you've been sleep deprived, you've been in the absolute hellhole. So yeah, I think that.
It's kind of alluding to what you're saying. I think sometimes it sounds very cringy to say, but sometimes weakness brings people together.
Yeah.
And especially for men, we love to be together, but I think more often than not, we've done it by showing our best selves, like, oh, I'm this, but rather when you show your best friend or whatever, you're at your absolute lowest moment in your life. I think that's what truly makes longer lasting friendships. And because, for example, like I look at me and my best friend, we have heart to hearts once every week.
Yeah.
Of just sharing whatever it is going on, everything that's bothering us, and just being super open and honest. And we're extremely close. Maybe that's just my experience. I don't know, but I just think that that's kind of, something we should start looking more at.
Yeah, 100%. I think being vulnerable and showing that side of yourself is super important, to kind of showing people the real you, rather than showing the Instagram profile grid of your life, etc.
Yeah,
actually showing who you are as a human, as you were saying before.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching a Stephen Bartlett podcast yesterday, and I think he had this divorce lawyer in the States, and he was saying this exact point, is that you're comparing your life to somebody's highlight reel on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which is so true, because like we often think, like, for example, why doesn't my High Rocks time look like this guy, or why doesn't my car look like this? And but then you go like, but they're showing their best side, and you're obviously not at your best, but that's normal. You don't know what's happening in the background.
Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say, isn't it?
100%. So I'm curious to know, what does vulnerability look like to you now that we're talking about being open and honest?
What does vulnerability look like to me? I think just being open. I think as I said, I still struggle to be vulnerable, but also as well, not everybody needs to know about my stuff that's going on in my personal life or anything like that. But there's certain people that I can be super vulnerable with, and could cry down the phone to, get it all out, and then obviously for the most part, people don't necessarily need to know what is going on in my life. But I think being vulnerable is just being open to talk. Yeah, more than anything.
Yeah, and how do you think we can be better men within ourselves? So, I mean, on a one-to-one, so on a personal level, but also on a one-to-one and on a group level.
I think more than anything, talking. Like, obviously, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? I think talking about it, trying to encourage and have events whereby you are doing stuff like that. I think we're going to do something at the end of the month. We're going to try and do a men's only fitness event, and we're probably going to do a men's only like bit of a social as well. And I think somebody needs to stand up and be that catalyst. I think in that environment, it's all well and good. It's all well and good running events, doing these sorts of things, but unless I think people think of me as this strong, fit, successful person. And I think if I go and do any sort of men's only event and I don't actually share, and if I don't come on stuff like this and actually share my true authentic self and the stuff that I've been through, then nobody else is going to then want to open up, because people maybe do see me as this alpha male, ex-Marine, fitness enthusiast, all this sort of stuff. And then if I'm not opening up and being my true authentic self, how do I expect anybody else who maybe doesn't see themselves as this alpha male or whatever the alpha male means, how are they ever going to want to open up or share stuff that's going on in their life?
100%. And again, I always think that, you need to always be the, whatever it is that you want to do, there needs to be a story behind it. There needs to be a reason as to why you're doing something. Like if you are to go and do the men's only events and whatever, someone might say, yeah, but this guy he's never talking about his mental health, or what's the reasoning? Why is he the one to lead this? So I think I'd say you need to, the very easy quote is lead by example, and walk the talk, in a way. And I think, and I think it's really cool that you are doing that, because again, I think a lot of men miss that. A lot of men need that, to feel like there is a safe space for them to be themselves, but also be around like-minded men who probably are struggling, but we just don't know that they're struggling, because it might not be out there.
And I think everyone's struggling. I think everyone struggles, whether it be week by week, day by day, or once a month. There's moments that everyone goes through those tough times and is struggling. And I think creating that space, and as I say, just having certain people that you can rely on as friends that you can open up to and talk to.
100%. So what are the sort of darkest moments? I want you to paint a picture for me of the darkest moments you've had in a race. And I don't mean physically, because I remember I saw a post once, I think it was Abu Dhabi, I think.
Yeah.
You had a really big cramp and you...
Yeah, did you... My little violin.
I saw that. I saw that post. So, yes, but I want you to paint the picture of your darkest moments in a race, or maybe even in the Marines.
So like in terms of races, like races are difficult, but they're in a controlled environment. I got cramp in both legs in Abu Dhabi, which was great. But that wasn't, that was tough. It's just disappointment. It's just frustrating. I think, my biggest sort of, or hardest and darkest times have come from the Marines, because a lot of that is, you go to a fitness class, you come to athlete, you do a class, it's an hour, as hard as it goes. You can stop whenever you want, you can rest whenever you want. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. Really, we'll encourage, obviously, etc., but we're not going to be screaming at you, etc. So in the Marines, it's very different. Obviously, the environment is very, it's fueled, and there's certain things I did that were just particularly difficult, whether it be like carrying really heavy weight, like 50, 60 kilos for like hours on end, survival exercises. I did an exercise which was like similar to what you see on like SAS Who Dares Wins, which is like a bit of interrogation and all that sort of stuff, and sleep deprived and all that sort of stuff. So those were probably the more difficult times, because you didn't know necessarily when it was going to end. There's no kind of finish line as such. So probably those were the more difficult times specifically.
Yeah. And again, I always think that, especially within that, I've never been in the Marines or anything of that sort, but I always think that, especially within those environments, because it's quote unquote life or death, right? Irrespective if you're in a training camp or you're in an actual battle, it's the same thing in a way where you need to be at 100%. You need to heavy metal, right? You cannot stop. It's loud. It's going to be tiring. It's going to be draining. But at the end of it, you come out a completely different human being. Yeah,
and you have that. And that's the thing. You have that knowledge and understanding that you can do more than you ever thought were possible. And I think that's the thing. People that do all these mad challenges and world records and stuff is, again, going back to my quote before, the hardest thing you've done is the hardest thing you've done. So as soon as you've done anything particularly hard, that is the hardest thing you've done in that moment. But that gives you that knowledge and experience that you can probably push even a little bit harder, a little bit. You can go a little bit darker. You can go a bit further into that sort of pain cave. And I think that's what I've kind of learned. I think that's what I take into all my kind of competitions now when I'm competing, is that, I can endure, if I can endure pain for 5 days, why can't I endure pain for an hour? and push through. And don't get me wrong, I still have the same probably battles in a Hyrox race that every single other person does. You know, I get 500 meters into the ski, I'm like, Jesus, this is terrible. I absolutely want to stop.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing. I think it's just experiences that have, and that's kind of what I try to pass on to members, clients, is that you know, we're all going through the same thing. Whether we're, you know, I just did a class just then, and actually, you know, I was struggling, but there was also somebody next to me that was struggling that maybe wasn't going at the same pace as me, but they were going at their own paces, at their own battle, and they were feeling the exact same thoughts I was feeling. And that's the great thing about fitness.
It's funny you say that, because I had the exact same thing yesterday. So we did as well a hard class, and I was training with Sina and a couple of guys, and we were on the same team. We were all pushing together. Obviously, we're all pushing in a similar way, but obviously one's pushing a little bit more than the other, just because of experience and endurance stuff. But when you finish, you're like, the guy who was the least fittest and the guy who's the fittest are both equally as tired, because they've just went past their limits. But that's as well something that I found so fascinating about endurance sports in general. Like, no matter how difficult it always is, you always go back for more, and you always find a way to give, you know, that 1% extra.
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
And I think that's sort of your journey as well. I mean, starting from the Marines to Hyrox to other obviously functional fitness events as well, and races. So do you think that you're at peace today with everything that's happened from day one till day today?
Yeah, I think so. I think, as I said, I think like I don't understand why I was in such a dark place still to this day. But I also don't think I need to understand it as such. I think, you know, I think it's not something that needs to be unpacked. But yeah, no, I do feel at peace. I feel I have all the tools in my arsenal to, like, anything that kind of gets thrown my way, that I can deal with it. And I also know that, you know, time is a healer in anything that you go through in life, and that actually, you know, you just work through stuff and just trust that things will get better, even if you're in the darkest times. Things will get better, and you will come out the other end of it. But yeah, I think I've got a lot of tools now that kind of allow me to help any sort of situation. But no, I would say I'm at peace with everything that's kind of happened. And I think it's also everything that happens in your life is a lesson. So every lesson that you have, you know, shapes you into who you are today. And that's exactly like everything that I've been through in my life has been, for good or for bad, has made me better and made me who I am today. So I'm happy that I've been through everything that I've been through. I wouldn't change anything that's happened in my life at all.
What are some of those tools that you've learned, or some of those tips and tricks, if you want to say it like that?
Yeah, the knowledge and the experience that time will heal. Knowing that I have, you know, a very like select group of friends that I can really rely on, that will check in on me, that understand me, like day to day. They see me. I'm not a very good person at hiding emotions, so if I'm not in a particularly good mood, it's pretty plain to see. And like, you know, I think they understand that, and, you know, they're more than happy to just have that conversation, just say everything okay. I think those, I wouldn't say there's massive things that I would say that like tools as such. I think it's just the knowledge that time will help, and having you don't need to have a massive network of friends, but having a few select close friends that you really can rely on, that have been through similar stuff and you can open up to. I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me. It's
interesting, actually. I always say this on this podcast for some reason, but there was a podcast as well on Diary of CEO. I think it was Simon Sinek, and he was saying, I think it was Diary of CEO, but anyways, he was saying, all you need is that one friend who you can sit in the mud with and be 100% yourself, and they will be there for you throughout the whole way of, I'm feeling like crap, this is not working out, blah, blah, blah. And eventually that person will be the one who might not have all the answers, might not know what to say, but them being there in some moments is better than nothing. And I think that's sort of the most important thing in general, but I think as well for us men, because we're very tribal, we love to be in groups, whether it's a group of 1 or a group of 20. We love to feel that, you know, we're a part of something, people understand, even though we might not ever admit it. We like to be understood. Sometimes people take being misunderstood as rebellion, but I don't really see it as that. But yeah, I think that's So one of the things that always keeps me going is that knowing that I have that one or two friends that I can always rely on. That keeps me going.
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay, so now what's sort of, if you want to look back in your life, what's the biggest sort of, how do you say, the biggest mental health obstacle that you've had? Obviously, other than your near suicidal moments when you were in the Marines, was there anything else that sort of stood out, like a really bad moment, a really bad time, if you've been diagnosed with something or?
No, like I think in the Marines, I also split my leg from like top to bottom in an accident, and that was pretty bad at the time because obviously I was massively into fitness, and that put me out for quite a while, and that was a bit of a struggle because obviously I use fitness as is my tool. It's whether I'm feeling good or bad, I train and I feel so much better after it. Obviously, again, like another big thing that's obviously happened, I've recently split with my long-term partner, so that was pretty big battle. But yeah, that's kind of those sorts of things. I won't talk about it too much, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's actually a perfect segue, because I wanted to ask you in general, what does it look like for you to be a man in a relationship?
Good question. That's funny. So like, I don't know. I think it's difficult, isn't it? I think as again in those scenarios as well, is that as a man in a relationship, you feel you should be the strong one, the one that shows no weakness, is there to support and all that sort of stuff. But I think I don't really know if I have the answer to that. I think being kind, gentle, showing up. Being there to support each other through everything that you're going through, understanding that relationships aren't all fun and games. There's lots of difficult times, and it's not, life's pretty mundane as a whole. The day to day isn't as exciting as people think it should be. But I think just trying to be a gent as best you can. But yeah, I think it's a difficult one. Is that still. I think I still, again, we talk about all this, but I still struggle to be open. I still struggle to show that weakness. I still find it weird, even talking on this podcast, find it difficult. But yeah, I think just you can show weakness, but I think also, being there to support your partner in everything that they're doing is probably the best thing you can do.
100%. And I always think that, it's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about the exact same point the other day of like, people always think that, being in a relationship is great. The day-to-day should be so filled with like unicorns and rainbows and really nice moments. But reality is it's fine. Yeah. It's cool. I mean, it's obviously it's nice if you have it, but it's not, this thing where it's like so magical. Like some days are very mundane. The day-to-day is fine. But I think what it is, and I don't know if you'd agree with this, but it's to be present, it's to be there, it's to, it's to essentially show this person that, I'll obviously be the protector, the provider, all these things, but as well, I'll do the things that will make you happy, but also like protect myself in the process of that. Yeah. So not do too much that it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, it's going back to what you said at the end of the day, isn't it? It's that somebody that you can sit in the mud with, that you can rely on for everything and anything. And I think that's it. I think a partnership is that thing.
So something interesting, I want to go back to a little bit to your background in terms of like just household family. So it's interesting because I have as well, not 3 sisters, but 2 sisters and only boy as well. So how was that growing up for you? I mean, did that shape in any way how you are today as a person?
Yeah, it probably will. It definitely will have done, I'm sure. I get on well with women, like generally, like I find it easy to talk to women. So that definitely helped. I think I was quite quiet as a kid because the girls were always talking, and I would always put my hand up to talk. and then it would come around to me, and then I would forget what I was going to say because it had been too long. So I think all those little things, but I think it probably helps me be who I am. I'm not really sure exactly what it has helped with, but I think how to treat women probably, and all that sort of stuff. I don't really have a proper answer for that, but it's definitely shaped me in some way. I'm sure they would have. I'm sure they would have plenty of answers for how it shaped me into a better person.
But I think as well, like I look at it from my perspective of how, at the time it was me, my older sister, but now there's a younger one as well, where how they've shaped me in a way, which is one, how to treat a woman, but as well showing me the value of vulnerability and how to actually be vulnerable. Is to be open with your emotions and not so much hide them. That's something that you definitely won't learn, in my case, from your parents or from family, because again, I always think that people are the way that they are based off of what they've experienced, what they've been through. So so obviously my parents never would have thought about this, or like these, like vulnerability, mental health, emotions. It never existed. So I think that helped me massively in my journey today.
And I think we're completely different men and women, aren't we, in certain scenarios? Like even like whenever you go hang out with the boys and you do have a partner, and they're like, so how's his new job going? And you're like, what? He's got a new job? You don't talk about the things that probably that ladies, like when they go out for lunches, probably they speak about absolutely everything and anything. Whereas guys don't really know what we actually speak about when we go out, to be honest.
It's literally, we have no clue. Till today, I don't know what we talk about, but it's good. It's fun though. It's good. So one thing I wanted to sort of pick your brain on is, when you look back on your life, what was sort of the big takeaway from everything, the big takeaway, the big lesson that Michael Logue has to teach to the world?
I think biggest thing is the comparison thing, is that everybody's on their own journey and everybody's following a different path. Everyone has a different background, completely different. And I think focus on you and you only. Don't look outside and look at what somebody else is doing. Focus on you and the now, and trust that what's coming for you will come for you. I think that's my big thing. I think that I see it more than anything. I see it from fitness. I think people forget how far they've come and don't realize how incredible it is that they've come from maybe never even really getting into fitness, and then wanting to be on the podiums or doing all this sort of stuff. I think just enjoy the process. Like we're all completely different. We all have completely different backgrounds, and just like be happy with how well you've done so far, and trust that like continually you will get better. I think everybody wants everything fast. Everyone wants it here and now. And stuff takes time. Like it takes time, but you should never compare yourself to anyone, because if I compare myself to everyone else, then there's faster runners, there's people that can lift heavier, there's this, there's that, there's all these sorts of things. Like it doesn't really matter as long as I'm progressively getting better. Then I'm onto a winner.
So I feel like this realization, or this this thought comes in after an experience. So did you ever catch yourself comparing yourself to others, whether it be in the Marines or in your fitness journey as well, or life?
I think I still do probably compare myself a little bit. I think I've got away from it a bit more now. I think I would say in life I'm very content with where I'm at, with everything that I'm doing. And I think that's probably why I'm so at peace and so happy, is because I'm super content with everything and anything that's going on in my life, and that I am quite willing to just trust in the process, and what is meant for me will be.
I think that's the most important thing, because again, we often always forget about the journey. We forget about the little steps every day that help us get to whatever it is that we want to get to. I think people always expect the big jumps, the big leaps, but those, if they do happen, in my opinion, never last. They'll be there for a few weeks, but then you'll crash back down.
100%.
So yeah. So the way we like to end every episode is I'm going to hand you the notebook that we briefly talked about. So I want you to write down a quote for anybody who is struggling and would need a piece of advice, and maybe something that even helped you get through your hardest, darkest moments.
Okay. Interesting. Want me to read them out? Or?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Life is a lesson. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. And a classic one, speak up, don't man up.
I love that.
Very simple, but yeah, to the point.
What do each of these mean to you?
Everything in life that you're going to go through will be a lesson. You'll learn something from it, and you know that you take that away. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. There really is. I think you really could be in the deepest, darkest times, and I feel incredibly sorry for anybody that does end up committing suicide, because they in that moment didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, which is sad, which is super sad. But there always is. So I hope people realize that, and then speak up, don't man up. You know, do speak up, speak to somebody, anybody. And I think that's it. Like, even from, you know, my door is always open. If you're a complete stranger, like it doesn't matter. I would be more than happy to spend 5 minutes, an hour to chat to anybody or whoever they were if they had a problem or needed to speak up. So yeah, that's that one. So yeah, if anybody wants to speak up to me, please feel free, because I would happily take the time.
Yeah. You know what I love about the second one? There's light at the end of the tunnel, because you know, there's something very special with a quote that you relate to because you've went through something that you never thought you could get out of. So in your case, I think maybe at the moment it was committing suicide. For me, it was a little bit different, where just depression, ADHD, almost getting kicked out of university because I was really like bad at studying and stuff, and all these things. And then when you read stuff, or just when you remember stuff like this, you're like, okay, life is still good. There's still there's hope, you know. And I feel like it's always those moments that really teach us, you know, the at the end of every dark tunnel there's a bright ending to it, if you want. And I think that's and I love the fact that you wrote it, to be honest.
And there's like, I think, you know, I've been through some stuff, and I think in those moments you're like, when is this going to end? Like, when am I going to stop feeling as bad as I feel? But I think, like as you say, like I do realize that it will come to an end, that pain will pass, and there will be light at the end of the tunnel. So, and
it also builds resilience within you in every part of your life.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's a lesson as well.
It's a lesson, exactly. It's a 3-in-1.
Yeah,
3-in-1. Well, Michael, thanks so much for being on the podcast. Absolutely loved it, and really, I'm super honored that you were able to, you know, open up about this part of your life that I don't think many people probably know about. So I'm happy that you're able to do it here, and I was here to listen to it all. So
no, I appreciate it. I've been on lots of podcasts, and I think nobody really kind of goes that little bit deeper, and I think some people are not willing to or don't want to push, and I think the more we can open up these conversations and have these conversations, the better the kind of for everybody it'll be. So no, thank you for having me on.
No, my pleasure. No, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was good.